Hi there, Gladys. This is Dave Molnar with Search Interactive Studios and Flytown Enterprises. First, let me say thank you for letting me take a look at your website and your web presence and offer some insight here. I always start on the home page of the website with my analysis because, well, this is kind of where the magic begins. So here we are at emmetalfab.com, your home page. And I can tell right off the bat that this is a relatively old website. It's got the bare bones, but it's just not very nice to look at. And please forgive me if I'm a bit blunt here. I don't mean to be mean-spirited or anything like that, but I find when I make direct assertions, well, they hit home a little harder, and well, it's just a little more effective than hemming and hawing and beating around the bush. But I'm seeing a couple of different things, a lot of different things here that could be improved on. First of all, the general page size is okay. The less information on your home page, the better. However, you've got all your nav buttons over here, your navigation buttons. And they really should be across the top on a navigation bar. Most websites nowadays are made on a platform called WordPress. The reason WordPress is so popular is because it's extremely easy to work with, and there are literally thousands of different themes to choose from, and these themes have different configurations depending on what sort of website you're building. There are also thousands of little pieces of software called plugins that allow your website to do certain things depending on what sort of customers you're expecting to come through and what kind of information you want to gather from them. So the first thing I would do is completely redesign the website on a WordPress platform. There are three elements that you always want above the fold on the home page of your website, and I'm not seeing any of them. The first element is a video. In the last year or so, Google has put more and more emphasis on its ownership of YouTube. So if you have an embedded YouTube video, for example, right here on the page, front and center when people land on your home page, that auto plays or just has a prominent play button and a call to action to watch the video about your company. What that does is several things. First, it engages the customer in a form that they want to be engaged in. People don't want to read all this. They'd rather see a video on it. They'd also rather see a video on the About Us. I noticed on your About Us page, it's got a lot of good stuff here. It talks about the founder. It talks about his belief that we should be keeping business in the USA and creating jobs here, which I wholeheartedly agree with, by the way. It also talks about your business philosophy. All of that can be included in the homepage video, and I encourage you to do that. The second advantage of having a video on the homepage is it provides a very powerful backlink from YouTube to the home page of your website. And this backlink just means that in the description of the video on the actual YouTube page where the video is hosted, it will have the web address, emmetalfab.com, and the description. That's called a backlink. When you backlink from your web property to one of the properties that Google owns, aka YouTube, they automatically give you a lot more love in their search engine results. And I'm going to talk more about search engine results coming up in the second part of this video. But first I want to concentrate on a few more elements that we're missing here on the home page. The second thing you're missing is a Contact Us form. You should have a Contact Us for a quote form front and center over here on the left. Now this form should collect all the information you'll need from the customer in order to work up a proper quote for them. Obviously, your goal is to capture their business for some metal fabrication work. So you want to collect their name, their phone number, their business name, their email address, and have a comments box as well where they can leave exactly what they're looking for. That'll help you, of course, put together an accurate quote so you don't have to go back and forth a bunch on the amount. that contact form should be backed up by an email autoresponder. Now, an autoresponder is simply an email system that works in the background that once you've collected their information is capable of sending out a series of emails on autopilot to the customer. Now, in these emails, what you're going to want to do is try to deliver some value. If they, of course, these people are contacting you for a quote for metal fabrication work, each email, maybe a weekly email, should emphasize maybe a piece of equipment that you just bought in your shop, or one of the niches that you specialize in. If you specialize in making, I don't know anything about metal. If you specialize in sheet metal work, or if you specialize in making control boxes for equipment, etc., etc., you can send out educational emails each week to your prospects to inform them of exactly what's going on in the industry, how you can help them, but try not to be too salesy with it. Always leave a link to your website on the email, but don't try to sell them anything, just add value. Now, the third thing that's completely missing from the homepage of your website is your address and phone number. You got to put as many ways for them to contact you right up front and center on your website. If you don't, you're really limiting yourself to the number of customers that are going to contact you through your website. Nobody is going to click on these links over here. People are so lazy nowadays, Gladys. It's kind of ridiculous, but trust me, if you don't have that contact information, your address, your phone number, and even a map, like a Google map of exactly where you're located in Elk Grove Village, folks aren't going to seek you out. They're not going to click on the contact us. They're not going to click on anything over here to find that out. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about as far as your website is concerned is something Google calls bounce rate. Now, the bounce rate is simply the amount of time it takes people to bounce back away from your website. They come here, they type in your web address, or they find you in Google, and they land on the home page. The shorter time they spend on your home page before they click the back arrow here, the higher the bounce rate. The higher the bounce rate, the less likely you're ever going to appear on Google page 1 through search engine optimization, which is really the name of the game. And I'll get into search engine optimization, or SEO, in just a little bit here. Excuse me, I need to take a drink of water here. Getting over a cold. I appreciate your patience. Now, I can only suspect that the bounce rate on your website is extremely high right now. It's not very fun to look at. It's not very navigable. It's missing all the key elements that people expect to see on the home page. So the first order of business I would recommend is a complete redesign of your website on the WordPress platform. Like I said, WordPress really opens up your options as far as providers go. That's what most people work on nowadays, and you should have no trouble finding somebody to help you with that. And of course, I would be happy to help you with any of these recommendations I'm making here. Now, the second thing I want to go through is what keywords you should be targeting with your SEO or your search engine optimization. Almost 50% of all searches are now local, meaning people aren't just typing in metal fabricators, they're typing in Chicago metal fabricators, or Elk Grove metal fabricators, or sheet metal Chicago, along those lines. So the way I do keyword research is with the Google AdWords keyword tool. It's located at adwords.google.com under the Tools and Analysis tab. Now, this is the industry standard. This is what practically everybody uses to see how many searches are taking place for the keywords that they're targeting, how much they're going to cost them in AdWords expense if they go the AdWords route, I'll get into explaining Google AdWords here in a few minutes. And also to gauge the competition for each keyword. So what I did up here is I typed in 5 different keywords that I thought would be pertinent to your customers when they're trying to find you as a business on Google. Chicago metal fabricators Chicago, Elk Grove metal fabricators, sheet metal Chicago, and Chicago sheet metal. I know those sound like they're repetitive, but they actually aren't, and you have to type them in each permutation to get a good idea of the search volume in general. Now, one thing that I always do, and I recommend you do too, if you decide to jump into the keyword research and do some for yourself, is over here under match types. Excuse me. It's always going to be defaulted to broad match. You want to uncheck the broad match box and check the exact match box, which has the little brackets around it. The reason for that is because that way it'll be giving you data on the exact phrases that you've typed in up here. If you use broad, it's going to give you data on broader keyword terms that might not apply directly to attracting customers to your business. Now, if we go down here, you can also see that in the keyword results, Google makes several different suggestions or recommendations as far as other keywords that might be useful in your research. The 5 that I put up here are in this result box right here. And then it also made some suggestions for Chicago-related keywords in the metal fabrication, or sheet metal fabrication Chicago, Chicago metal fabrication, Chicago white metal casting, steel companies in Chicago, bunch of different stuff here. Now, some of these search volumes might look really low. 28 people, 22 people searches per month is what that means. 22 people are typing in sheet metal, Chicago sheet metal on a monthly basis and looking for results in Google. However, if you add all of these up, and you're going to target all of these different keywords with your SEO campaign anyway, if you add all of them up, well, they start adding up to real numbers. And if I add up all the keywords that seem to make sense just in my head real quick, we're looking at approximately 400 to 500 monthly searches for these keywords. This means 400 to 500 people on a monthly basis are typing into Google these keywords and looking for your business to help them get some metal work done. That's a lot of potential customers. Imagine if you could capture 2%, 4%, 5, or even 10% of that business. That's 40 to 50 new customers every month. And of course, I'm sure once they're a customer of yours, customer retention becomes very important. We won't get into that today, though. But my point is, you want to use the Google AdWords tool to do some keyword research. From my just preliminary testing here, it looks like there's 400 to 500 keywords, or rather local searches on various keywords that are highly pertinent to your niche. Now, it does look like the competition is relatively high for all of these. What that translates into is more time for SEO to actually work and land you on page 1. Gladys, the software that I use to screencast these videos, only gives me 15 minutes, and we're approaching 14 minutes right now. This is a good place for me to stop video 1. On video 2, I'm going to pick up and I'm going to go through what's actually on Google page 1 with you, and then I'm going to give you some recommendations on how to perform your search engine optimization and some AdWords campaigns if you want to. So I'll be back in the next video. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you in a minute.